It's that flow, no, she my flow. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's that
Could slower ships help the Orcas? To the human eye, big ships cruising along the west side of San Juan Island this summer might have looked like they were traveling in slow motion. To the perceptive ears of killer whales, those same ships might have sounded a little bit quieter. That's because more than half of commercial ships transiting Haro Strait between San Juan and Vancouver Island voluntarily slowed down as part of a 2-month experiment by the Port of Vancouver, British Columbia. The port wanted to test how slowing vessels reduces underwater noise and whether that could help endangered killer whales. On the noise front, the slowdown appears to be a success, according to the port's preliminary analysis. Not only were participating ships quieter, but ambient underwater noise levels also fell by nearly half during the slowdown, which ran from August 7 to October 6. But how did the resident killer whales respond to those slower, quieter ships? A team of U.S. and Canadian scientists is now trying to answer that question. Their work could help determine whether enforcing vessel speed limits in the southern resident killer whale's critical habitat or other options such as sending ships through in a convoy might buy the whales some time. The population fell this year to only 76 animals, a 30-year low. Combined with dwindling salmon stocks and persistent chemical pollutants, noise is one of the top threats to the remaining resident orcas. The din from human activities makes it harder for the whales to catch scarce Chinook salmon, their main prey. At the noisiest times in their critical habitat, southern resident killer whales can lose an estimated 97% of their opportunity to communicate in their close-knit pods, which is critical to coordinating their hunting, staying safe and finding mates. Just weeks before the vessel slowdown was set to begin, oceanographer and ocean acoustics expert Scott Veers realized it offered a rare chance to better understand how ship noise affects the whales by observing their behavior when ships passed at different speeds and noise levels. The Port of Vancouver planned to rely on computer models to predict the effect on the whales, rather than collecting new data on changes in the whale's actual behavior in response to the slowdown. Veers and his father, retired physics professor Val Veers, had already been eavesdropping on ships in local waters for about 15 years through a series of underwater listening stations on San Juan Island and around the Salish Sea. They teamed up with marine conservation biologist Rob Williams of the Oceans Initiative 010518C, whose observational studies have shown the whales spend less time foraging when vessels are nearby. The University of Victoria also joined in to take bursts of photographs that could be used to detect smaller boats. Seattle philanthropists contributed about $35,000 toward the study, and a whale lover offered free accommodations on San Juan Island to a team of research assistants from around the region. On a sunny but blustery morning in early October, 2 research assistants scanned Haro Strait from the bluff behind Val Veers' San Juan Island home. The southern resident killer whales had been worryingly absent in the summer. If the whales did turn up, the team was ready to track their precise movements using surveying instruments. A second person would note changes in their resting, traveling or foraging behavior, plus any vessels in the vicinity. Nearby, the humming, popping and gurgling sounds of the Salish Sea played through speakers mounted in a wooden box adorned with red, black and turquoise Northwest Native American designs. Heavy black cables down to the water relayed sounds picked up by microphones that Scott and Val Veers had fixed about 50 meters off the rocky shoreline. The Veers' earlier analysis of nearly 1,600 ships passing by their microphones had helped inform the slowdown. Ship speed limits, they found, are one way to quickly reduce ocean noise, which has nearly doubled each decade since the 1960s. They estimated that an 11.8 knot speed limit in Haro Strait would cut ship noise by 3 decibels, which may not sound like much but, because decibels are measured on a logarithmic scale, actually represents a halving of sound power from the ship. The port set the voluntary speed limit during the slowdown at 11 knots, 12.7 miles per hour. A deep chuga 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 emanated from the speakers, the characteristic Washington State ferry sound, Scott Veers said. That's the Elwyn ferry crossing at 16 knots, Val Veers came outside to report. In a sunroom overlooking the water, a tangle of electronics across 3 desks recorded details about each vessel from its automatic identification system, EYES, signal, along with its sound signature.